We are in Bosnia and Herzegovina. The country is facing new ethnic tensions between the Muslim, Croat and Serb populations. Many people fear that these tensions will escalate and that another armed conflict is inevitable. But will these tensions lead to war? And what do the Bosnians think of this? To understand the current political situation in Bosnia, we have to go back 30 years. After the dissolution of Yugoslavia, Bosnia declared independence, after which Bosnian Serb forces attacked the capital Sarajevo.
War in Sarajevo practically started with the happening of protests in the area of government buildings over there, and our terrible 4 years continued after that day.
Vahid Stanovic witnessed the siege of Sarajevo. He takes us to the hills around the city to give us a better idea of how the war started 30 years ago.
Can you imagine? Everywhere on the hills, there was a front line with the tanks and snipers. There were snipers everywhere, but wherever you had a front line, you had a minefield. They were not even marked well, and people were going there to do something in the forest, and then you could simply hear that someone was killed, especially children. A lot of children, who played, in the forests were killed by mines. Whatever you see now these are people who died or killed during the war.
Yeah.
So these graves are old 30 years maximum. This is also war. Right after the war, everybody was reluctant to go to the other side. That was something in the head.
After the civil war in the 1990s, Bosnia and Herzegovina was divided into two parts: the Republika Srpska, where mostly Bosnian Serbs live, and the Bosnian Federation, where Muslims and Croats live. Milorad Dodik, the president of the Serbian part of Bosnia, is now ramping up the tension with military parades and wants to tear Republika Srpska away from the rest of Bosnia.
The situation now, which is now in Bosnia, and last year we had in Bosnia, is even worse than during the war. So pessimistic. You can hear that from the people.
A parking lot security guard tells us that war can break out at any moment.
Sigurno dakle ta informacija?
Jebi ga, ima informacija već da u Lukavci imao na zgradama da su ljudi postavili mitraljezka gnjezda, svašta ima. Svašta ima sad. Jel nije li, hajde znao.
Ajde, nadam se da neće biti.
To smo mi onda govorili, nadam se, kad je puklo. Nada umrla i 4 godine te nade je bilo.
To better understand the tensions in Bosnia, we meet up with a group of political activists. Suat is a Croatian Bosnian, Azra is Bosniak, and Bojan is a Serbian Bosnian. Together they want a country without ethnic nationalism and where all population groups have the same political rights.
Politika jeste dovela građane na rub siromaštva i to pogoduje ovim etnonacionalističkim strankama koje ispiraju, da kažem, mozak građanima političkom situacijom i na sve načine pokušavaju ostati na vlasti u ovoj zemlji, čak po cijenu ako treba i rata.
Sve ostane na priči. Znači, automatski kada se pokrene takva velika korupcijska afera, kreće uporedo priča o ugroženosti Srba, ugroženosti Bošnjaka i Hrvata.
The activists tell us that many young people are leaving the country as a result of political tensions. The older generation is the only one left to protest.
Young people cannot be blamed for leaving because leaving is also a form of protest, basically. They're not accepting this sort of reality.
Although there is no physical wall, most residents stay on their side of the street.
That is the dividing line. On the right-hand side, we have the name of the street as Trg Sabora Bosanskog, and on this side, it's called Letešanovića. So two names of this same street.
You could see the life is normal. There are no other signs but those streets labels.
It's not that the dividing lines that are set that really can divide people, can put them on different sides. It's the mental divisions and the mental borders. But that can also be changed.
For many in Sarajevo, the root cause of the current tensions is the fault of the Serb Bosnians. Dodik's nationalist party stirs up tensions with war rhetoric, blocks national politics, and denies the genocides of the Civil War. We drive to Banja Luka, the capital of the Republika Srpska, to investigate how the Serb Bosnians see this. In the city, we notice that our presence is not appreciated. In many places, we are not allowed to film and we are chased away.
I believe the people here will always live in the past because they are so traumatized by what happened that they cannot really shake it.
We meet Stella on the square in the center of Banja Luka. The young English teacher is one of the few who wants to talk to us about life in the Republika Srpska.
During the war, a lot of Muslim families left, Croats as well. Some came back. After the war, a lot of people believed in the Serbian army because this is where we are. It's in Banja Luka, and then and still today, most people are Serbian. A lot of civilians never turned in their weapons, and we don't really have an army, but we have a lot of civilians who are trained because they were in the army. So that's what I'm afraid about if the war breaks out. Young people have already left, and those that are still here will probably leave if something happens. So we are all, at least young people, constantly wondering if we should have kids, if we should get decent jobs, if we should buy houses. What if something happens? What if we have to move?
Stella tells us that the politics and the media in this part of Bosnia are doing everything they can to make people live the Serbian identity to the fullest.
They tell them, vote again, show your patriotism to make them feel more Serbian. But I have been privy to people telling me that they got money to vote or they got food, and that's really sad. I don't really think that young people are the ones who can see themselves as nationalists. It's mostly really concerned with older generation.
All over Banja Luka we see graffiti of Ratko Mladic, the former commander of Serbian militia forces and convicted war criminal. For many in Republika Srpska, he's part of their culture.
I can't imagine how it is for people here because I don't know also what my identity is.
I don't know what my identity is. In primary school, the first thing you do is you are supposed to tell who you are and your nationality. And I would look at the paper and I said, I'm a Martian. I was bullied because I wouldn't classify myself as either a Serb or a Muslim. People would key my mother's car when she came to pick me up because she was a Muslim. We are the ones creating our own problems. I mean, our parliament cannot get a single law right. Maybe it would be better for us if we did part ways.
All over the country, both in the Serbian and Bosnian parts, young people no longer see a future. In recent years, tens of thousands of Bosnian young people fled to Europe. They can often stay with relatives who fled to Europe during the Civil War in the 1990s. We meet Nadia, a well-known DJ in Sarajevo's underground techno scene. Nadia plans to leave the country next year and move to Austria.
I know definitely that my generation grew up in that post-war trauma, and we have it all. Because, for example, now that I see some tapes from the war or something like that, I cannot watch it, you know. It's just too much for me. I have a lot of friends who left, and I have a lot of friends who are still here and want to leave. People who have jobs and who have friends and who have a really even good life here think that way. What will happen with this country? It's tearing apart every day more and more. So that's the main reason why I want to leave. It's not about the clubs or the music anymore. That's the smallest thing when it comes to reasons why would I want to go, you know. When you listen to the news and when you read the news and when you want to educate yourself a little bit about the politics and the things that are happening around you, you really get concerned. I want to feel safe in the place where I live, and I'm not feeling safe.
The activists take us to a protest for more political justice and less nationalism in the center of Sarajevo.
Živjela Bosna i Hercegovina! Živjela!